Get going. Oh, there he is. He looks good. How you doing? Okay, now we really have a quorum. So anyway, I'd like to call to order the March 16 regularly scheduled Board of Public Works meeting, starting with the invocation. Lord, make us an instrument of community and understanding. Lead our thoughts to propel our brothers and sisters to do your will, and guide us to do this cooperatively and with community in mind. In times of concern, provide us understanding. In times of distress, provide us calm. And when faced with anxiety, help us understand with reason. Help that we can promote peace and security for all in our midst. In your name, amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Last night I was out in the snow, and I was just hoping that we didn't have any call-outs, so you guys didn't have to be out in that nastiness. Anyway, do I hear an approval of the listed consent agenda items on our agenda?
I'll make a motion.
And a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I didn't see any comments listed, but assuming we don't have any people signed up for comments, go right into Darren's monthly report.
All right, I got quite a bit for you today. Part of this, I won't read it verbatim, some of it I will, but this is information that I think we need to get out and make it available. I'm not going to read it verbatim, but I'm going to go through quite a bit of it. We've had the stones thrown at us that there's many things we're not doing, and I'll tell you there's many things we are doing. And just because we don't brag about it every single day or every single time we get together, the fact is that we're an exceptional utility. We're doing everything we're supposed to be doing, and we're communicating the way we should. First of all, Standard & Poor's, right after our last board meeting, the next Thursday, we had a review with S&P. On that day, S&P came and asked us all the questions, what we're doing, and the last time we met with them last year, we were downgraded to a BBB plus credit rating and a negative outlook. With that negative outlook, that means that they're going to come and we're going to have this review on an annual basis, and they're going to watch and make sure that we're doing and meeting the requirements that we have. The third and fourth paragraph in this, it says, as a result, the purpose of the meeting was to review the steps taken by HBPW to address these concerns and to evaluate the utility's financial progress. Staff presented the measures implemented to improve financial performance, including the 7% rate increase approved by the board, which allowed HBPW to meet the required debt coverage ratio as per our projections. As a result of these actions and the board's efforts to meet its financial obligations, S&P determined that no additional downgrade would occur at this time. However, the HBPW will remain under a negative outlook. S&P representatives indicated that it will likely require another year of maintaining the required debt coverage ratio before the outlook can be improved from negative to positive. This is what S&P, their proposed report. We still have that report coming. We will receive it, but we've seen, and it simply says, S&P's negative outlook reflects its opinion that the utility continues to face challenges in establishing the timely and necessary rates required for the electric system to produce sufficient net revenues to meet its financial and operational obligations. S&P also noted the potential risk that the sewer system could be required to support combined utility debt if electric system revenues are insufficient. Additional concerns cited included the board's lack of long-range financial forecasting and the absence of a power cost adjustment mechanism, which S&P believes could help support more predictable and gradual rate implementation practices. One of the things that we must do is we cannot do any kind of rate increase, change, whatever, without having first a public hearing without coming to you. And what a PCA or power cost adjustment does is it tracks the amount of power and it allows it to have a floating. So it adjusts every single month at 0.1% or such, depending on what those rates have done. And those are commonly used throughout the nation, but we don't have that luxury. The upside scenario, last two paragraphs, S&P noted that the outlook could be revised as stable if the board demonstrates a unified and consistent willingness to establish electric and sewer system rates that are sufficient for both systems to produce consistent debt coverage metrics and maintain adequate liquidity. HPPW staff will continue working diligently with the board to implement the financial practices and rate structures necessary to achieve the upside scenario and strengthen the utility's financial position. So we're grateful for your courage in meeting that 7% rate increase. That was tough. Lots of pressure to go the other way, and thank you. We're on the right track, so we'll make that go. So one of the things, again, that we got beat up over was cost-saving efforts. What have we done? And part of that is what have we done lately? And we've put together, I believe, a very comprehensive look at what we have done and do, not just on a annual basis or here and there, but we are looking to cut costs always in every single department. And one of the things when we look at staffing, who have we cut lately? Well, there comes a point in time where you've cut so many times you can't cut again. So once it's been cut, you can't go back and do it again and again. Or you simply say, do we want to no longer respond when the power's out until the next day? Do we not want to have the reliability? Do we not want to have the water when you're supposed to have it on? And so if we want to cut those services, then we could cut deeper. But I personally don't believe that's the right way to go. I think we've got a level of service which has been established, which is expected, and which is exceptional at an exceptional cost. But here's some of the things that we've done. Ongoing cost savings and expense reduction. The finance department. If you will look at our numbers for fiscal year 2026, all the way in 2022, the amount of money that we were paying for overtime has been reduced. And that's because we are doing things that help strengthen the reliability, from tree trimming to CIPP pipe repairs to having our employees that are out in the field doing exceptional work to make sure that the system is as strong as it possibly can be. And that percent has gone from 2.72%, pretty much consistently down from 2.63 in 22, 24, 1.65 to fiscal year 2026 year to date. That could go up, could change. But right now we're at 1.31% of what it once was. And so that's an immense savings that is realized because of the management and the efficiency of our employees doing their jobs. Capital cost by fiscal year, the capacity cost, I apologize. In fiscal year 2020 and 2022, we paid about $45,000 each year. That is when what I call the national nexus of the amount of generation that is being provided versus the amount of demand flopped. And that was truly because you have coal being retired, because you have a glut of renewables being put into the system, and the renewables are not reliable when the sun doesn't shine and the wind doesn't blow. And we have seen that. And when that changed, the cost for capacity skyrocketed. From there, our cost for capacity in fiscal year 23, $3.4 million. Fiscal year 24, $2.2 million. Fiscal year 2025, we had another breakthrough, and they changed it from an annual to a seasonal construct on one season, helped push it over to $4.5 million. We have not been sitting on our hands. We have the Northeast Generation Project, which you're partnering in, which will help us to maintain and keep those rates flat for years to come, but that won't happen until late 2028, 2029. We have also gone out and secured some capacity at some very favorable prices for the next 5 years, which will help bridge it from now until then. And next year, we are anticipating that our capacity cost will be right around $500,000, $467,000. So we've had, through consultants, through Paul's excellent work, and some good decision-making, we have some opportunity here that's going to maintain and keep that. That's in the electric department, several $1 million in savings that we're working on. Training and budget reductions. One of the things that we'll see across the board in every single department, from electric to water to wastewater, all of the plants internally on admin, is that our training budget has gone from about $166,000 down to $78,000. Now, one of the things I will share with the board, we've been beat up online, et cetera, because of the rates and the wages that we pay our employees. I also have a document that I will share with you that has not just our wages, but also has our education and all of the certifications that we have to have. Almost every single one of our women and men that are out in the field have to have some sort of certification, education, et cetera, that you don't just come by overnight. They are very skilled, very knowledgeable, able to do the things that they're supposed to do. And you'll see how that pays off again when we get to the water plant and wastewater plant.
Can I add something, Darren?
Yes, please.
I did come in and sit with Bev and Courtney and Jamie, and I don't have the proper terminology, but Bev, if you guys haven't seen it, I don't know if you have, but Bev has like a massive screen that shows the ratios and different things that we go through to determine what each employee is paid. I mean, it's extensive, and it's not anywhere near the highest, and it's not the lowest. It's right dead in the middle. So it was very impressive. I think it goes through MPUA, if I remember right. Is that right, Courtney?
There's different salary surveys.
Yeah, and it. I mean, I was here 3 hours just looking at that, and it's quite extensive what she does to make sure that the guidelines are being met for what we pay, not overpay, not underpay. I don't know. Have you looked at that? I know you've been out here before. Yeah, no. So if you get a chance, it was really interesting. I didn't understand half of it, but she worked with me and talked me through it all, and did a really good job explaining it, and it helped me understand a little bit better where the salaries come into play.
Thank you. Thank you very much. The next thing I would mention on about the third page, talking about tree trimming. We have gone through and set up several years ago, we wanted to take and trim every single one of our electric lines, all of the right-of-ways, once every 5 years. So we were doing 20%, 20%, 20%, and we've come to that point where we're just right at the end of the 5 year, we're in our 6th year, and we have pulled back on that. What we had was budgeted previously for fiscal year 2024 was $700,000 for that tree trimming. In 2025, we cut that back to $650,000. And this year, we have cut it back to $625,000. So again, we're maintaining the operational value of that effort, but we're pulling down the costs of that. And we've gone from having 3 crews down to 2. We've looked at bringing that in-house and the value of them with their own equipment, their trucks, their grinders, their saws, the employees that they have. There's no way that we could do that in-house at a price that's competitive with that $625,000. Transition to refurbished transformers. One of the things, this is just one example, we are very careful in our purchasing. If you go and look at transformers, if you were to get a new 50 kV right now, it costs you right $5,550. We're able to get a refurbished one for $1,285. Same with the 75 kV, $9,350 for a new one, $1,098 for a used one. If we look across the board with not just transformers, but poles and power, but the lines and all of the other appurtenances that go into keeping our system up, we're able to do about a 50% savings on that. Although, even with that 50% savings, it still has a significant up pressure on the cost of a material to put it in and keep it running. But our people that are doing the purchasing, our electric department, they are looking at that, and every day we are cutting and making sure we're getting the very best pricing and best value for what we have. No, a refurbished transformer will not last as long as a new one, but we put that in and we believe that this is still the better value that we can move forward in. One of the other things is we have skilled employees. We have an in-house mechanic, electrician who's able to do much of the AC work for us, and that has saved us significantly on all of our efforts. Deferred projects. One of the things we're also done is in our 5-year capital plan, there's several things that we've looked at and pushed back. We've got the Oakwood South Side tie line that we've pushed back, straight light upgrades that we're pushing back on, automatic switch breaker for warehouse we're pushing back. Fleet management, we're also pushing back on overhead and underground conversion. We're pushing those things back so that we don't have a big chunk coming out of our reserve fund in order to do those capital projects. I will tell you that is not a good practice, that by putting the right amount of money back into your system is how you get to where we are today, where you've got a system that you can rely on, that gives you reliability, that saves you in overtime costs, that you can have available, that's robust, versus letting it wear down to nothing and then having to rebuild the entire system. And then you have a huge cost instead of having a consistent cost as you go. And that's what we want to get back to, but that's what we need to do with that consistency in hitting our debt ratios, et cetera. The SCADA system, if you look at our inventory, SCADA has helped in that purchasing. We have taken our inventories and pulled that down. By pulling that down, having different reorder points, the cash balance and the cash availability is better, more robust. We're able to maintain that. But again, we have less of a response time ability if we were to have some of those emergencies. So we're taking that emergency preparedness, and that's what's paying the price to take and make up for those. But those are cost savings. Customer Solutions Department, deferred equipment from SCADA. I'm going to go a little faster here. I can see people glazing over already. But I will invite everyone to come back and look at this agenda and this report and look at every single line, that every single line is looked at regularly, often, and our supervisors are doing a fantastic job on each one of their departments. Deferred equipment and SCADA. One of the problems that we have coming up is the radio replacement. We had it scheduled for fiscal year 2024-25. We budgeted at about $100,000. We went out for bid on that, and it came back that it was under, the total cost was about $300,000. One of the problems is this is not just a radio communications between employees and us and SCADA to be able to make sure that it's working when phones are out or those other systems aren't available, but there's also relays that are going on between our SCADA computers themselves and reporting what the system is doing. This is something that we need to do. This is a system that is no longer being supported by the maker. You'll know that there's many times where the radios, computer systems, etc., they simply lose support, and therefore you have to replace them. That's where we're at, but we're about 5 years out from that. 2016, 10 years, is when the manufacturer stopped supporting the life of those radios. So that is one. While we're looking at deferring, that's a hot spot that we really need to keep an eye on. Staffing adjustments, customer service department. We're down by 2 fewer service personnel from when it began a couple of years ago. Expanded online training. We've saved money again in training by doing online and helping them be up to date. We have eliminated door tags. We now do it simply by emails to let people know. We don't do the door tag. We don't have to roll someone, but we have also stopped collecting the money for that door tag. So it's not much, but it's something. It is something we recognize we're not securing, and so we don't charge that. We still have late fees. We still have those others, but we're making sure that it's fair. The water treatment plant. At the water treatment plant, we have overtime reduction, actively managing staffing scheduling to minimize overtime expenditures, chemical use optimization, adjusted treatment process to optimize chemical consumption without compromising water quality. One of the things is they've also extended the filter runs. We take and we change out, we've got 8 GACs, granulated activated filters up there. We change out 2 of them every quarter. By taking and operating them a little more carefully, watching the TOCs and the water quality as best we can, and our operators knowing how that works, they're able to take and push that life a little bit more and to expand it, and so that we don't have to, we're still going to be paying $120,000 approximately every single change out. But by giving it a little more life, we can get a couple percentages more life out of it. That's money that we're saving. And our operators are looking to that, working towards that, while maintaining our water quality. And with that, they're also looking at energy savings. Some of the deferred maintenance there, we have the basin repairs, we have the primary sludge collector maintenance, we have primary mixer maintenance, we have a lime system demolition that we need to take care of, and the old clear well, which needs to be demolished. All of those are being pushed out and not taken care of immediately or in the time frame that we had set previously for the 5-year capital plan. At the wastewater treatment plant, we have staff reduction, maintain operations with reduced staffing levels. We've increased the lab fees, but we've also reduced the potable water usage. We've increased the dumping fees. That's the people that are coming in and dumping, to make sure that we're capturing all of our costs so that our citizens are not paying for any of those additions in which pumpers are able to come in and take advantage.
What do you mean when people come and dump?
So we have haulers. The guys that are out pumping septics from outside. They can come in, they take and they dump. They can do it after hours, but we have to have employees that come in and help let them in so that it's used the proper way. And so
Do you make money on that, or do you just cover
we're
costs?
covering costs. We may be capturing another 10%, but it's close.
Why not make
It
money
was,
on that?
well, we're being fair. Again,
But I
we
mean-
could. That's all right. If you tell us, let's be more aggressive on it, we'll be more aggressive on it. So we can look at those fees.
As we're all trying to figure out ways
To make
to
money.
bring in income, I mean, maybe it's not a lot of money, but I don't know how much people come in and dump, but
Yeah.
if it's a service you're providing, why
Absolutely.
not make a profit off of it?
Okay, we'll look at doing that. That's a great idea. Some of the things that we're pushing off there, deferred maintenance, the reactor and digester cleanout, the grit classifier repairs, which we really, really need. That one is critical. Grit chamber repairs, bar screen maintenance, sampler replacement. That's another one of those that we want to make sure that we keep all of our regulations met. But some of those things, we're able to push it. We're pushing it as far as we can to make sure that we're sucking every dollar out of every piece of equipment that we have. Water distribution. We have vacant service positions. We have not replaced 2 servicemen with existing staff absorbing responsibilities to maintain operations. Eliminated on-call duty. Service personnel are no longer on call, saving approximately 11 hours of standby per week. Internal yard repair and cleanups. All yard maintenance and cleanup work is performed in-house, which saves us several $1,000s a month. We're hauling our own rock. When it comes to sanitary sewer collection, operating with 1 employee short, we're maintaining staff at 1 position below full complement. And the other men are taking up and filling that responsibility and pulling that extra weight. We're doing a lot of sewer main lining. With that, we see a reduction in the SSO, significant sewer overflows, which again helps keep us out of the regulatory issues, and we're making that happen. Easement machine cost avoidance. We had an easement machine to replace. What happens is it's a small jetter that you can get into corners and nooks, and you want to be able to get there quickly. And the jetter became under disrepair. To replace it would have been about $100,000. Our men have gone the extra mile and replaced it, repaired it, and made it work themselves, which cost about $4,000 to do. And so they're doing that in-house. Same thing with our front-end loader. We have an old front-end loader out here that the brakes have had problems, failed, etc. And we have men have gone and done the extra mile to go find parts, used parts, etc., to get it in there, fixed it ourselves, saved probably $100,000 there. Again, virtual training. All of our water, wastewater operators, our water distribution, our water collection men and women, they must have licenses and certifications, and each one of those have to have CEUs, continuing education units, and with that, we do much of that in-house. We do it virtually, and they have to keep up all of those hours and do it, and so there's a cost there that we appropriately and correctly pay for so that they can maintain those certifications and licensing. One of the last things that we got beat up on was someone said that we just drive around in a bunch of rich cars and new cars. I believe what it means is that we actually wash ours. They're white and clean, and we keep them that way, and we maintain them and manage them. If you look at the age of our fleet, we have, of 2025, we have one. 2024, one. 2023, we have one. 2022, two. 2021, one. It goes all the way down to 1983, which is our oldest. We have then in 1999, one. 2001, 2001, one vehicle. You will see that we have a fleet management process, and we're getting, again, the most out of every single one of our vehicles. We have them working. They are serving and doing what they're supposed to do, but that's called fleet management, and we do that, and we do a very good job of it to make sure that our costs are appropriate. Any question? That's just on our cost savings efforts. Again, we do everything on the big scale, but we do every single day to make sure that we're not wasting money.
I want to go back to the capacity cost.
Yes,
So we're estimating 500 grand for 27. What was our estimate in 26?
Paul, can you pull that off the top of your head?
Budgeted amount for 26 was 1.3 million.
What was the, and I know you touched on it, what's the, why are we able to drop it that much?
We've done several things. Number one, we've gone and we have the capacity that we would get from Prairie State. We know what that is. We pay for that. What we did is we went out and said to our consultants is that we want to hedge this coming year for all of our summer and all of our winter, spring,
And this is kind of what we talked about the last meeting. Is it beneficial to hedge it that much ahead of time?
Correct. And so what we did is we went out and said, not only do we want, so we know that we have that generation project that should be coming online by 2029.
Right.
From 25, 26, that's about 5 years. That's what we asked them for. And they have gone through and we have found a couple of, frankly, solar developments that are in Zone 5 here in Missouri. And they were willing to sell their capacity, even though it's only 18% of what they were going to make. That's what we have purchased. And we actually purchased at a very good price. And what happened is we looked out all the way to the end of 2029. How much capacity would we need to meet it in 2029 in today's dollars? And they would have to actually have it here because every single year, those solar capacity
Right,
goes
they
down.
lose.
So we're able to say we bought greater than our 57 megawatts of capacity. We were then able to turn around and sell this additional capacity for just this year back into the market, and we've been able to get to this number. So it's been positive. We have not hit, we don't know exactly what is the price at MISO is going to be, but we know what it is. It's a set price. It's the right word.
Regardless if a storm comes through, that doesn't.
That's capacity. Yes.
Oh, I get confused, sorry.
No, you're right. No.
Oh, I'm right. Okay, I'm with
You
you.
are absolutely correct. For capacity, we know that that's the number for capacity. Now, we do not know the cost of transmission, and we do not know the cost of the electricity. Because we're
And
still,
the price of electricity is the one that spikes really high?
Yes.
Or that capacity?
it can be both, but we have now managed it to where we're not gonna have
At
those
least the
spikes
capacity
on the
is not gonna
capacity.
spike.
Correct.
So what's the, like if you're looking at like this past year, right? It spiked a bunch in January, February, mainly January?
Mainly, yeah.
Was
Storm
that both
Fern.
capacity and?
No.
It was all electricity?
No, once capacity is set annually,
And we were set at the 1.1 million,
right,
and we're able to drive that down 600 grand or so.
yes.
And that's gonna be pretty consistent.
Yes,
mainly through hedging right now.
yes,
Yeah.
Do the companies that we buy hedges from have to be vetted?
yes. We go through and we have an EEI where we have an attorney that's in Washington DC. Our consultant makes sure that they are fiscally responsible, that they are not, if they're brand new to the business, that they have all of the securities, et cetera, that they have to have. And that's what Mr. Stephen Pearson that we use to do that. We have several EEIs, and we have them that way we can get bids from each one of those companies that we have vetted and are ready and are secure and safe to do business with.
So were we just more aggressive with the hedging for 27 than we were in the previous couple of years, or was that just?
Yes.
Okay.
So really, if you go back, like we said, 2020, 2021, it was $40,000.
Right.
You know, it really was, it wasn't significant enough, but when it really spiked, then we had to get into and learn that capacity much more thoroughly and aggressively.
And I know we touched on this, but can you kind of do the same thing with the electricity side?
Not as much.
Not as much.
No, because again, the day ahead costs are the very cheapest. If we could, there's a cost to risk. We could go to another company. Right now, we're buying power right at 8 cents. And we don't want it ever to spike. So if we were to buy all of our power at 10 cents, there's somebody out there that would be glad to buy it for us and sell it to us at 10 cents. And they take the risk of that spike. So if we look at our spikes on energy, we've had it probably in the last 4 years 2 times. We had Fern and we had Uri, and those were the big spikes. And what we do, our methodology is that we buy on the day ahead. We buy 80% of it roughly on the day ahead market, and then we have a little bit of it that is real time. And then you have a reserve fund, and that reserve fund is the emergency. And so that's what we did all the way back in 2023. When that hit, it went spiked. We got some assistance with the state monies, but ultimately we paid for that, and it came from the reserve fund, as it should be. Then we adjusted and it was fine. But what happens is if we run that reserve down to nothing, then we can't do that. We're gonna have to have another.
So if I remember right, Paul was saying that if you buy too far ahead, you may end up way overpaying. You're almost like planning for a spike, and if it never happens, you kind of screw yourself.
Correct. That's where you've got to. What we do with our policy is we want as much consistency as possible, and that's our hedging policy directs us how to do that, and that's why we hedged on our capacity. That's why we're still doing the day ahead on the power. If you look at our rates, well, even with our 7%, we have, I believe, one other community here that has a little higher or a little lower electric costs, but we've been the lowest electric rates in Northeast Missouri for a long time. And so we're doing things right. Nobody likes a rate increase. Nobody likes to pay more, but it's a good strategy and it's served us very well.
What would we have to do to engage with the PCA? Is that even allowable?
That's a James question. So a PCA, where I came from, we had one. It was a 12-month rolling average on the cost of power. And so as that changed, it would adjust your rate every single month by a small percent. And it just stayed and tracked the cost of the power that was coming in. So it was a power cost adjustment.
It's not the way we're set up under the charter. I
Yeah, that's what I
the
recall.
way the charter said, every time you change the rates, you need to have a public hearing. I mean,
Correct.
we've looked at that type of thing in the past. It's not going to be possible without a change in the charter. I'm not saying it's not possible in Missouri. I'm not aware of specific
Where
laws
was that at?
prohibit it.
Where you had the PCA?
It was in both Delaware and Arizona. It's very common. It is not an uncommon.
So your rate is constantly.
It's constantly adjusting. Yes.
Not always up.
No, sometimes up, sometimes down. Like I said, it tracks it. And so sometimes you as a utility where you could be losing money because you're behind the curve and you're trying to catch up, and sometimes but it's a very slow, gradual adjustment to rates.
Would you have to make a change in the charter? I know you and I have touched
I
on something similar but different, on doing like the peak charging that a lot of the rural places do. Where you have your set rate, and then when you peak during the peak things or times, then you do a higher rate.
Again, you're changing those rates. I think you would. I do, but I'm not,
I think that's the way the charter looks. I mean,
Are you talking about demand or time of use?
Demand, like the demand charge. A lot of the rural, and of course, there's a ton of people in the community that since our last meeting I've had a ton of conversation with, but the feeling of the demand is that even if it's minimal control as a homeowner, you feel like you have some control during the demand time, that you can maybe decide, turn your heat down or turn your air up, or, decide to do laundry late at night, or, like little things, but at least it gives the customer some control. It also helps when you, just because I know the market, when you buy more efficient equipment, specifically like geothermal, helps you on the demand charge. And so like when you spend that money or you invest in some higher efficiency things, that can help you on the demand, where your actual rate's lower, but the demand rate is huge. Like it's really high.
and I think what you're describing is time of use. That's
Okay,
what
so
we
I'm
call that.
wrong. Like
Well, but it's all right. But I
kind of
mean,
the same, similar.
pretty much. In other words, we know that it's more expensive at 7 o'clock all the way to 10 o'clock,
Yeah, yeah.
same in the morning.
So it is
if we
time.
could make you do your laundry at 1 o'clock at night, then you really win.
Right.
But I mean, that's what you're doing, is you're trying to move people's usage away from those peak periods where electricity is most expensive.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, and then I don't know. It's something that has
Yeah.
just been a lot of conversation about. And I said I would ask.
we'd have to look at how we would establish that rate. The people would have to accept it. Would that be a single hearing, or is that something you have to do every single month? I mean,
I think you'd have to do a change in the charter. I think you could certainly provide for something like what Luke is talking about, where you have some type of a demand charge that goes in, but you're going to have to do a charter change to allow that to happen, I believe.
I mean, if the spikes and it's really during these peak times, right? If that's really where it's at, maybe. I mean, it may at least be worth doing maybe a cost analysis to see what the customer would end up. Does it save them money? Is it around the same, or is it? I don't know.
we would have to maintain.
If your goal is to avoid spikes, you need to go to a total needs contract. You need
What now?
a total needs contract. You need to purchase all of your power, all of your capacity, et cetera, from one location, and you're gonna pay a per kilowatt hour price. That's the way smaller cities do it. That's the way we did it for a long, long time. We're a little too small potentially to buy on the open market, because you get people freaking out. You get people going, "Oh my God, why do we have this? Why it didn't used to be this way?" Blah blah blah. Well, the reason it didn't used to be this way is because we paid more. We paid more for our power, and the board took what at the time appeared to be a reasonable analysis and decision and said, look, we could save all this money if we start doing day ahead and blah, blah, blah. But several things happened. The market got a little more volatile. B, capacity, in particular in this region, got crazy. So if your goal is to avoid spikes, and to avoid spikes in a way that you're not going to have people freak out and push back, you're going to need to buy everything from one source and stop the dollar head pricing. But Darren and I've talked about that a little bit, and they're of the opinion that while it might look more reasonable to the public, that in the long run it's going to cost them more money.
It
I'm
looks
not
more
saying that's true or
consistent.
not true.
It's not going to be cheaper, but it's consistent.
Correct, and it's consistency that upsets people. It's oh my gosh, why are we having to do a rate increase, et cetera, et cetera. If you get a long-term contract for all your needs from one source, you're not gonna have to do that, but staff has looked at it and they feel like in the long term, that's gonna cost more money. But if your goal is to,
Well, and I agree with that. I guess I was talking about how the board actually bills the customer, where the normal rate is kind of almost the same thing, right? Instead of them buying at this rate all the time, maybe you're able to buy here, and then when we do have the high demand, the customer pays more then.
Yep.
In the end, it may be the same thing. You may end up spending the same amount of money, but then it's not consistent, or maybe
And
I don't know.
ultimately, I'll put this all on Paul. We still have to make X amount of money, revenues, every single year. We change how people are spending and buying, and those people that are really aggressive, they could save money. That's great. We would buy less electricity. That would be great. That would bring that down. But ultimately, those people that don't, we would have to make some adjustments so that everybody, ultimately, at the end, we still make enough to cover our costs.
Yeah, and I think what you'll see, and this is just a thought, because obviously I'm not in this world and I don't know, but I think what you'll see is the higher income will gladly pay it. Not gladly, but they're gonna end up, their usage is higher, they're gonna run their stuff through the spike, and I would guess that the income's gonna be generally around the same.
Okay.
And I don't even know that you really, as the customer, are you really saving real money, or is it just, from the people I talk to, they feel like they just have a little more control on their spending of it. If they're able to make some adjustments here, or like I said, you're buying more efficient equipment, things like that.
You got it. We'll look into
Lights,
it.
LED, of course, that's gonna help anytime, but
Yep. There's
the
enough.
peak times of demand goes really skyrockets.
It's really started probably maybe 10 years ago, a little more. More people have gone to it. Like you're saying, the customers love to have that control. That is a plus. I'd like to, maybe we can take some time and do some studies and
Yeah,
then
I think it'd
see
be worth
what's
at
out
least
there.
looking into, to
You
see if
bet.
it's worth making that change.
see what that time of use does and what the ultimate outcome has been for some communities.
I think anything that we can do to show the community that we're really trying to figure out solutions and not just that we're doing it, but let them know that we're doing it, I think is gonna be a huge benefit.
Okay.
Do you guys agree?
Yes.
I don't disagree with that.
Okay.
I think I don't think there's ever any wrongdoing, but I think when we're dealing with people's money, that we have to be a lot more transparent. And I've used this term a couple times. I think we have to dummy down a little bit. Like, we have to realize, myself, along with the average citizen, doesn't have the same knowledge that the Board of Public Works has, the employees. And so we have to be a little bit more, not that we're not trying to be transparent, but the level of transparency that we have is a little bit higher than what people understand. Like, myself included, it's so, I don't think there's any intention of not being transparent, but I think we just have to, even these cost saving issues, like I had mentioned, maybe on more of a regular basis, let's tell people what we're saving money on. Some of this stuff, I read every single line of it, and I was absolutely amazed at the things, that were being done. This is a new board. We have a new council. I bet our new council doesn't even know half of these things. And yet they're telling us do more, do more. Hopefully we are going to pass this along to them, because it's a new council too. They haven't been around for some of these things.
We got it.
Okay,
It was in test.
good.
We,
Because I think that might be the transparency problem that I'm guessing that maybe everyone's afraid we're not doing, because this comes so natural to all of you guys, because you do it every day. It's in your, it's what you do. But for other people, I think what Lucas said is spot on, that we need to do it, but we also need to tell everyone we're doing it loudly.
and I'm going to voice a little frustration here, because we throw out that word transparency, and yet we have this meeting every single
I
month.
agree.
And unless we have the word rate increase thrown in, we have nobody show up.
Yes, I
Just
agree.
put it in every one.
Maybe we should.
Just put rate increase.
Yeah, that'd be great, huh?
We'll go, guys, we're not gonna do that rate increase.
Yeah.
I don't know, I'll be happy.
And that'd
And do
be
you guys
great.
remember the last meeting? The house was packed for the rate increase, but for a regular meeting,
There's
everybody
nobody here.
left. Yeah, that's been my frustration too.
And so we have Paul, which goes through and gives a detailed financial report every single month. Every single month. We have it in the board packet. And how much more transparent can you be?
To
I-
What else?
piggyback on what she's saying, I don't know that that is what the community wants to hear. And I don't mean it in a disrespectful way. And like she said, no one's trying to be, I don't think anybody thinks the board is trying to hide anything. I think it's the fact that, when Paul and even yourself, when you rattle through a lot of those things, it goes over my head. And I mean, I've been here almost a year now, and I've learned a ton. And so I think to the community in general, and maybe this is something that you get the social media to talk about, and like talk about like actual things that are being done. Similar to in your thing, and maybe not all at once, but hey, this month we're going to really
Yes.
focus on this is what we're saving our some moves we made to save money for you guys, the community, and focus on what the action and not necessarily the dollar figures, because Paul does a great job, and it's really detailed into that, but it's easy to get lost in some of that too. If that makes sense.
How about like a podcast? If we were to take and kind of break
Yeah,
down
absolutely.
and have someone maybe from the water plant or from our water distribution and have them, give 15, 20-minute podcast
Great.
on it.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be,
Again, I think that's only as good as people watch it.
yeah, and at that
But
point,
at least we
some
can say
point,
we
as
made
long
an
as you're putting it
effort.
out there, if it,
Because we're doing that. How many have we got out now? We
I
have
loved
three
your
done.
last one. I just watched it.
And we've got it out on Facebook, and we've
Yeah.
got it out, and we share every bit of this information with every single city councilman and the mayor. They receive every bit of this, and yet we can't get them to come ask questions. We can't get them to go and yet it's our fault that we're not transparent.
I agree. I think
We
somebody
have-
said it. It wouldn't matter if we stood on our head. We still have to raise the prices, so we're the bad guy. But at least we can say, you asked for it, we put out the effort.
We have this meeting. We meet monthly with the city manager and HREDC. We go over every single project that we have, that HREDC has, that the city has. We coordinate on all paving so that Andy gives us a list of everything that they're doing. We take and we meet weekly. I go to the city staff meetings, and we're involved with that. We share with them our minutes from our meetings. I don't know how much more communicate. What I have next in my report, again, I won't go through it word for word, but this is exactly what I'm covering. And so-
Daryl, are you willing to talk to us about this now, or like what, when you said you wanted to have insight over the board, what is it that we're not doing? Is there something specific, or what is it that you're looking at that we can do better?
Could you step up to the,
Yeah, sure.
turn on the,
Is it on? Yep. So in response to your question, I'm not going to get in the weeds on that. The council is working on different ideas and different approaches. You'd sent an email to me, I think just to me, I'm not sure if you included the rest of the council or not, about your willingness to help work together, and I appreciate that. I think that's great. Again, looking at different ideas. The thing that you sent out that you have in front of you that you referenced, council did get all that. I believe Melissa worked with Courtney and got that to her, and she got it distributed to the council, which is great. Councilman leaders, I believe, at the last meeting had pressed the chairman on getting that information and was basically told no. I kind of jumped in and we talked a little bit, and John said that he would get it sent over to us, and he did. And I'm very appreciative of that. Hopefully the council's had time to look at that and look over that. It's a lot of information. The one thing I will add, when you talked about transparency, is the council did ask the board probably a year ago, on when it comes to budget time, if they could help, what you alluded to, dumb it down. Because it's very complex, it's a very large budget, there's a lot of moving parts, things like that. So my hope is that we can do that this year, and I think that definitely would be a step in the right direction. So everybody kind of understands, has a good grasp on things. So I think that there's a lot of stuff we've talked about today that Darren's talked about, that James alluded to on this is how we used to do things, this is where we're at today. The world changes 100 miles an hour. The news cycles are not even 24 hours anymore, they're less than that. The system as a whole is broken. It's not your fault. I don't think it's the council's fault. I don't think it's anybody in Hannibal's fault. We got to fix it, right? And I don't know what that looks like. It's going to take time, and hopefully your willingness and our willingness to sit down and put our heads together and say, how do we fix this?
Do you have any thoughts on the transparency to the public on cost saving? You know, because just kind of what we were talking about, it, like I'm sure you've heard from a million people also about all of this. Do you have any thoughts on like what would be a way to really reach the public?
I think you're right. I mean, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. And you alluded to that too. I mean, as long as we're putting it out there and sharing it, I mean, I think that's really all you can do. Aside from saying you're going to have a rate increase every meeting. But no, I mean, just, I have not watched all of Erica's. I started to watch the one with Mark that you posted today or whatever, but I got cut off, so I didn't get to watch all of it. But I think that just having that ability that you can direct people to that. When people ask you, you know, your friends or the people that you hang out with, and you're talking about rate increases and somebody else, hey, you know, why don't you go on YouTube and look at that? There's 3 episodes ago, they broke down exactly what they have done in the last however many years for staffing or whatever the case may be. So I think just continue to share it, just work on trying to really foster that cohesive relationship.
So to the budget, I know the board does a budget workshop every year. Would the council be inclined to come to that? That would probably help.
I think that'd definitely be a step in the right direction. I mean, I'm sure they've always been invited. I think it's open to the public anyway, but just maybe a reminder, you know, if Darren could send that out or Courtney could send that over or whatever, we could get it in front of the council and make sure they're aware of it. We do a budget workshop as well. So if you guys had questions, like to kind of look at our budget, see, I would say the same to you. I mean, if you guys wanted to come to that, I mean, that's what I'm talking about. Like this is productive conversation. These are steps in the right direction. These are ideas that are plausible and doable as long as we're all in agreement that we want to move the needle in the right direction. So I appreciate that. I mean, I'll be here. So, and I'm here along with these 4 gentlemen, even though the general manager said nobody was here. So I'm just joking. Anything else, guys?
I do apologize.
I don't think so.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, Darren.
No, it's a terrible, difficult problem, but I've added up before the number of people who ever watch our YouTube videos, and I asked Melissa for how many people watch theirs, and I count the heads in this meeting, and I count the heads in the city council, and you look at how many adult population is in Hannibal, and we're not even generating the interest of even 1% of the population. How do you do that? The only way I've seen is to have some type of altercation that's going to come up at a meeting, and the press comes, and then they have no interest in understanding details or facts. All they care about is sensationalism, and this one hates that one, and they're doing this wrong.
You just described the United States.
Yeah. So we got to reach out to 99.5% of the people who don't give a rat's backside and figure out the website the BPW has and the city have details. It's all out there. You just can't force them to read it and understand it.
Could you guys thought about this? Could you put some kind of flyer? You send a bill to all these people, right? Either electronically or paper copy.
The E's don't get much action. The paper does,
But I mean, to Lucas's point, you're still trying. I mean, could you put something in there every month, like a highlight of maybe what that podcast was, or what, just a, hey, here you go, and then direct them to, here's the YouTube link, or here's a QR code you can scan to get on and watch the last board meeting, or I don't know. I mean,
I think I think what you're saying is great, but I also see dollar signs with that. And then when we're asked to cut, but now let's take this extra expense of adding, I don't know what it would cost money.
The electronic wouldn't cost.
Well, the electronic would be as good an idea. I don't know how many electronic bills go out versus paper bills, but I'm
I mean,
on.
you could put a QR code on the existing bill, it probably
Yeah.
wouldn't be that crazy.
And then get an email blast to the same people you send out the electronic bills to say, hey, here's an explanation of this or that, or whatever the hot topic is.
It'd be a lot easier if those people showed up here to speak at a rate increase hearing or anything like that, and you could look at them directly and say, did you go, it's here on your bill, did you ever go watch this? Not that you want to be retaliatory or fight with anybody, but we're giving you the information. If you choose not to do anything with it, that's on you.
Well, the public ends up asking their Facebook friends instead of their city council or Board of Public Works about what the actual facts are.
But my concern with what you're saying, Daryl, is when you yourself and the council are harping at us to be more transparent, because you made a directive to us as a board, if you're not even, you guys aren't even understanding it or taking the time to really review it or come in and ask the questions that need to be asked or sit down with people that it needs to be sat down with, to just go in front of the cameras and say that you're going to, now I forgot the word you said, but if you and the council aren't even willing to do that, how can we expect the public to when they come to you guys for the answers and then you're continually saying we're not being transparent? I mean, that's a lot of the issue within itself.
Yeah, so I mean, myself, I asked 2 or 3 different employees just today before the meeting and just a minute ago questions that I had, instead of blasting it on Facebook or coming up here and trying to throw somebody under the bus or anything like that. Like, I come to Darren's office quite a bit and ask him questions. We communicate. I mean, I speak for the council, so the statement that I read was approved by the council. I'm the messenger. And that's the job that I chose, and that's what I got elected to do. If you have specific questions on comments that certain council members have made or anything like that, I would suggest to try to reach out to them personally, because I'm just one of the 7 votes, and I don't even vote that often. So that's what I would tell you on that. I know that we're trying to get some stuff put together. Of course, that'll be up to the council to decide what they want to do and move forward from there. So
Yeah, I did reach out to 4 councilmen and I've yet to hear back, so.
yep, thank you.
Where are we? Still on general manager's report?
Yes, you are. I will go quicker, however. The support for the city operations and community infrastructure, again, I think I will go high level here. This is the question of transparency, and I believe we are also accused that we don't collaborate or don't work well with the city, that it's all broken. Well, I'll tell you that it really is working. We work well with the police chief, we work well with the fire chief, we work well with the building inspector, we work immensely well with the Melissa, and Beverly helps her all the time. We are there to help. We do help. We talk. We communicate. We have our meetings. One of the things that Mr. Leaders said, he wants this written down, what we're doing. Well, we're holding our budget workshops. We invite them. We've invited the mayor and city council to every single one of them since I've been here. We have a 5-year capital plan. We take that 5-year capital plan, we take it down to the city. They see it, we share it. We have the ability to ask questions, not just there, but here when we do our budgeting, we have the budget which we come. And when you approve it, we then take that. Also, they've been invited to every single one of those meetings. Transparency, openness. We can't force feed them. Unfortunately, it is more complex than to simplify. Sometimes there's things that just simply are difficult. And with questions, we can get it taught and we learn and we can all learn together. We have a purchasing policy. We do all of the things that we're supposed to be doing. We are completely transparent. We have the best financial person around. And again, we get it to the penny. We have it. We've got every single audit report that we need to have. It's available back to 2009 on our website. We communicate. We work well with the city, all is well. I kind of, the mayor says it's all broken. I'd like to know if there was a defined what's broken, I'd really like to have a better look at that, at what that is. Final's part of my report. The other thing we got, there was a couple of members, citizens in our audience during the rate hearing, and they said that energy is going to be going down and it's cheap. And I believe they were completely, absolutely wrong. I have given you 3 different synopsis. One from the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, FERC. Another one from the North American Energy Reliability Corporation, NERC, NERC. And also from MISO, the Mid-Continental Independent Systems Operator. I believe that those are all 3 very, very sound organizations that are involved in the energy. They are flat out saying that everything is pressured, is going up. You have data centers which are coming in using lots and lots of power. You have continued retirement of coal assets and other assets that are coming to end of life. And the problem is that those that have been coming to end of life for the last 20 years have been getting replaced by renewables, solar and wind, which are not reliable. And so we're pushing our grid closer and closer to a breaking point where we will start having more and more outages. You have less capacity, and the prices are going to go up. Everything that we have for the next 10 years is upward. And so we will continue to do everything we can to maintain, to keep it down. I think we've got very good things going on with our capacity, what we've done. I think we've made some great decisions there. Unfortunately, that is what we're looking at in the future, and we will continue to manage it and do the very best we can.
On what you just said, sorry to interrupt you, but like I said, I've been talking to a lot of people. No one believes that energy costs is going down. Like, I think there's very few that actually believe that and said it out loud and actually feel that way.
Okay.
I think the majority of the world knows that the cost of electricity is skyrocketing and usage is going way up. Electric cars, electric this, everything's got a battery. It has to be charged. And so I think we can really kind of zone in on the people that were here. And sometimes I'm guilty of this too. The loudest is where we put our attention, but I don't think the community in large feels that way. And it's not all negative. Like, I expected to get all negative comments. It's not all negative comments. It's easy to focus on that because that's what we've got to do, but it's not all negative. And especially like that comment, no one believes that. I mean, obviously some people do, but the majority don't.
I don't know what the comment was referring to, and I didn't stop that person and ask, but my rendition of it was gas prices at the pump were here, and now they're lower 9 months
Higher
later.
now.
I think that's what the reference was.
Very good.
I don't believe it was.
Well, energy would
Energy
be cheap
production.
if they just turn on all the coal plants, but we as a country has decided that that's not the most appropriate way to do it.
I know that there's a bill in front of Congress right now brought forward by Hawley and somebody else to make data centers find independent power instead of sucking it off the grid. So hopefully that will be a help if it gets passed, but we know how bills work in the Senate.
Some of those things are happening. Microsoft has enlisted 3 Mile Island to turn back on one of their nukes. So that kind of thing is happening. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's this, again, the volatility and things that are going on are immense, but we're doing everything we can to maintain and keep the lowest power costs in Northeast Missouri.
Wish we could just get some nukes going.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Until we find
Save
cold
a lot of
fusion.
it.
That is the end of my report.
Anybody have any questions of Jared's report? Moving along, Matt Munslinger, if we could cover operations, please.
Good afternoon. Basis of my report is just, how well our crews are performing. We continued with our excellent overall availability report or rate for our electric system. You'll see our number of outages did go up from 2. we've got some equipment issues that we're trying to get a handle on. It's just to try to determine at what point we need to schedule equipment change outs. We had one that occurred first part of March where it knocked off the new Indian Mound sub. That was a piece of equipment that had failed, and due to the settings, it had shut down the sub out of an abundance of caution. If you look at the water plant report, we're operating there between what we were in 2024 and 2025. Part of that I'll attribute to what our crews are doing out in the field and trying to reduce the water that we're having to produce because of water loss. We are continuing to maintain the plant. The crews have used the winter months to put a new coat of paint on the interior and really make it shine. We've got people going to class and upgrading their operator license. And then, as Darren alluded to, one thing that the staff at the water plant noticed was, I think it was about this time last year, we started with all 4 of the gravity filters being replaced, or they had just been replaced. And so over the past year, they've really noticed the amount of water that we're using to backwash those has decreased because the number of times we're having to backwash it has decreased significantly. So everybody's on board with trying to make things operate more efficient. On the water distribution side, again, water loss is a big topic that we've been talking about for a number of months now. And I think it was last month I reported that we found an error in the ultrasonic meter that we were using to compare to our customer meters. That allowed us to close out that the area 3, which was around West Ely over to MM, including Pioneer Trail and Hummingbird. We've since moved that meter to over by the pool, an area we had tried to start out this project with. In doing so, we're able to locate a handful of leaks. We've actually started off replacing some small diameter mains up on Hayward that we found several leaks in there. And so rather than go in, dig up part of the street here, go down 10, 20 feet, dig up another part, we're upsizing that line to a new 8-inch line. We'll also be tying in another smaller line in the same area and hope to get that completed here within the next month. We've also purchased a second ultrasonic meter, installed the meter pit right outside the entrance to Riverview Park, and that will allow us to further identify problems in the Palmyra Road and 168 areas of town. Hopefully we'll find either all of our meters are pretty accurate, or we will be able to track down some of these water leaks that are not presently making it to the surface. Wastewater plant, we did have a failure of a after cooler on one of our newly installed compressors. Supervisor there is working with the manufacturer to come up with a better solution, why it's plugging where the previous ones did not. But we did have to replace that core of that after cooler. Sewer crew, they took advantage of the warmer weather we had during the month of February and were able to get out and televise mains and do cleaning on almost 19,000 feet of sewer main. That's up quite a bit and pretty rare for the month of February. I mean, usually we don't have that many good days to where we can get out and do that type of work. You've got a $500,000-$600,000 machine sitting out there on roads with snow, people crashing. We don't want that, so we limit that. Also, we don't want that truck freezing up, so we try to do most of that during the warmer months, but because of the warmer weather, we were able to do that, get out there and do that. Then you'll see toward the back end of my report, computer-related items, SCADA-related items, and the business office statistics. Be happy to answer any questions that you may have on the operations report.
Anybody have questions of Matt? Having none, if you could move on to projects, please.
Add one more thing to the water loss report. Gordon Eden of Eden Brothers they've got multiple meters that he's reading in real time at different locations within our system. And what he's doing is trying to compare where he anticipates water should be going with what those meters are showing him. And so we've got all those meters installed. We've made the final tweaks, and hopefully within the next month or so, we'll have a meeting with him and go over what he's found, what he expected to find but maybe didn't, and then that'll allow our crews to really set the priority in where we go looking for the next step in this process. So on the sewer side of things, I don't know if you've been downtown South Main area, but we've had a crew SAK in for approximately a month now, doing large diameter sewer main lining. We're lining 30 and 24-inch mains. They're about done with that. This week they've pulled off and they're going to be lining the discharge pipes of the stormwater pump station.
Is that down there next to the Bear Creek Trail? Is that where that is?
That's where they've been working, yes. This stormwater pumping station is right there behind the old Mark Twain Hotel. It's a 24-inch steel pipe that goes up and discharges the water on the wet side of the levee.
Okay.
And during 2019, we found a failure in the discharge line of pump 2. Rather than digging up the levee and replacing that, we worked with this company that we'd done lining with in the past. They came up with a product and a solution that is going to save time. They hope to have all 3 of those lines the liner installed this week, and then we can reset the pumps and put them back into service. It'll provide a product that uses that metal pipe just as a hose pipe, but because this liner is going to have a structural component, if that metal pipe rusts away, you'll still perform probably better than when that metal pipe was installed originally. So excited to get that done. And then North Street storm sewer, we're waiting on MoDOT. Talked with the engineer today. They were hoping to have the permit for it out today. MoDOT personnel was out last week attending training, and so we're trying to finalize a couple items with them. And then once we get that permit in hand, they'll require approximately 2 weeks for signage to be up, and then the replacement of or installation of the new storm sewer can occur. So they anticipate somewhere between 60 and 90 days to get that completed. So that's all I have, unless you all have any questions.
I do have a question that just came to my mind about the water loss. I think I just heard you say you've put some monitoring over by the community pool. Do we get water loss from the community pool? It's metered. All the service to the community pool is metered. In the past, they've had some leaks in their sand filters. They did a project last fall where they installed a liner on the inside of those sand filters, and they did testing after the fact that indicated that they got those leaks fixed. So. And also, I didn't even think about it till everyone put this cost savings and what we actually do. I know we fill the community pool at no cost, correct?
Parks and Recs is provided utilities, yes, at no cost.
So then do we continue I'm assuming we continue filling it all throughout the season?
In the past, yes.
Do you know roughly a dollar amount that is, or?
I don't
It's
remember off the top
okay.
of my
Yeah,
head.
I
I mean, we
figured
can get
not.
that to you. But again, hopefully with this project that they did this fall, that we're hoping that once it's filled this spring, that they will just whatever evaporates or is lost that way and not a leak.
Good, I hope so too. Okay,
So.
thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions of Matt Fifth projects? If not, we can move to Paul in his financial report. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so last month we talked extensively about Winter Storm Fern, and we did receive a little bit more color and context from our power supply consultant. And so before we close the book on January, I just wanted to go over just a couple things. None of it good news, unfortunately, but we did find out a little bit more that a lot of the problem that occurred with that higher pricing. So if you remember, we paid about $1.6 million just for that 1 week of power. A lot of the problem was due to the fact that it happened over a weekend. And so a lot of these companies that are buying gas will buy their gas need for the weekend on Friday morning. And so because the worst of it was on the weekend, they realized that they didn't purchase enough Friday morning, and so they had to go in on the weekend and buy more, and that caused the price to go up. The EIA, the Energy Information Administration, actually reported the largest ever weekly gas stock withdrawal in history during the week of January 30th, which means that we used more gas, natural gas, than we've ever used before in a week. And so this continues the trend of coal coming offline, solar and wind not being available. And so who carries the weight at that point? It's gas. And gas is good, but unfortunately it's expensive to run when you're running some of those peaker units. And so the average price for natural gas in 2025 was about $3.33 an MMBTU. And we saw over that weekend the price skyrocket all the way to over $30 in MMBTU. So outside of that, they had our MISO system-wide peak during that time frame was about 105 gigawatts, and over the 4 or 5 day time period, they had 6 gigawatts of unplanned outages, and the majority of those outages were on Saturday and Sunday. You can imagine probably why that was. You had it extremely cold. People didn't want to go out and get these things up and running. At least they were less motivated to do so on a weekend. And so because there was outages, they didn't have as much generation available, which again drove that price up. So all of that to say is that it impacted us very negatively, but it was at least interesting to get some of the color and the context behind it. So I've got a slide deck on that if anybody's interested in looking at that. But as far as our impact goes, I mentioned last month that we recognized that impact in our February financials. And so if we look at the electric fund, we did have a reduction in cash for February of about $324,000, and that was due to that winter storm. Our net loss ended up being $257,000, which obviously was worse than what we had budgeted. Our revenues came in right about the same as last year when we look at kilowatt hour sales, but it was our net purchase power that ended up being $800,000 more than what we had budgeted. So year to date now, we were tracking along better than expected, and now we have a net income of $114,000, which is worse than expected. Our total budgetary impact from that storm is going to be just a little bit less than $500,000. The rate increase that just went into effect earlier this month is expected to generate just a little bit more than $500,000. And so, like we talked about when we went over that rate increase, essentially what it's going to do is put us back to even on where we were. And so much of that will be applied to the unexpected costs from that winter storm. So year to date, we're 8 months in. Revenues are 6% higher than expected. Monthly kilowatt hour sales are up by about 3% on average, but net purchase power continues to be the problem as it's now 12% higher than expected. Darren had it in his report, but if you look at our monthly LMP price, our hourly LMP price for each month, every single month is a double-digit increase from where it was a year ago. And so you were talking about it earlier, Lucas. Energy is what we have seen jacked way up this year, even though we've done so much to reduce our capacity and transmission has been relatively consistent. It continues to be energy that's hurting us this year.
Can I interrupt real quick?
Yep,
I just want to
please.
ask a question. So the generation project, that will curb that spike, right? Am I correct in that?
It's for capacity. It will not
Doesn't
curb.
do the
It
purchase
doesn't do
power.
anything for the purchase of power, the electricity portion. It only helps the capacity. Now, what's nice is when it runs, when you have those spikes, it will pull down that cost of capacity. But
Because it's going to pay back.
yes, but that's only capacity, not electricity.
One of these days I'll figure all this out.
You're all right. It is more complex than you think.
When that peaker plant runs, would we buy electricity from that?
We could. When it's actually running, that's going into that market.
Yeah.
But it's being sold at that higher real-time price. So hopefully, we've already got our day-ahead purchased. We're not buying it, we're selling it.
Sorry to interrupt.
No worries. Good question. So with the negative month in February, it puts our year-to-date debt coverage ratio at a 2.65. If we look back for the last 12 months, we have a coverage ratio of negative 0.44. I will look at it when we go over the budget for next year, and we'll continue to look at it, but we are on track with the recent rate increase to meet our debt covenant ratio by the end of this fiscal year. Any questions on Winter Storm Fern or the electric fund before I move on to water?
Well, I have some questions, but I don't know. I'll ask them now, but you may want to answer them later. On the bank statement, I saw several payouts to MISO, and I was just wondering if you could break some of those down for me. Like,
Absolutely.
do you want to do that now, or do you want to
Yeah, let's
finish the report?
That's all electric, so
Yeah,
let's do
that's
it
what I
now.
thought
Yep,
too.
great.
Okay. I mean, what I'm trying to say is, I think people tend to see a lot of money coming in, but nobody pays attention to money going out. And these numbers were very significant, like, like, wow.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So what you'll see on page 1 of that check register, the very top line is MISO. February 3rd, we paid $74,000. So I've talked about it before, but MISO bills us 2 weeks in arrears.
Okay.
So when we paid that wire out on February 3rd, that was for our power for 2 weeks earlier, so somewhere around mid-January. $74,000 is a pretty cheap
Right, that
power
one was,
in
right.
January
Mhm.
for
Okay.
us. And the reason for that is because we had those true-ups that we've talked about that was driving our total invoice for power down. But still, overall, a pretty cheap week for power. So then the next one, $184,000, we saw, that's pretty normal. That was the week before Winter Storm Fern. That's exactly what we budgeted for a week of power in January, was right about $185,000. Then you see $197,000 for MISO Trans. That is our transmission that we pay to MISO. And that's right at budget. We budgeted right about $200,000 for transmission.
And transmission stays relatively level, like you can kind of forecast it better.
It's been, it's been going up like everything else, but as far as consistency goes, it's been our most consistent component of purchase power, definitely.
I'm sorry if this is a stupid question, but this transmission, does it have to do with one of the costs on our bill where we have, shoot, I hate when, I always lose my words when everyone's staring at me.
Are you talking about the service
Transfer
charge?
fee, yes, thank you.
So no,
No.
it has nothing to do
Okay.
with the transfer fee. Yeah, transmission goes into that overall purchase power cost. And
Okay.
we've talked about, we have 3 components, which are that energy, the actual electron, transmission, which is the transportation of that electron to us in Hannibal, and then capacity is that 3rd component. That
Okay.
makes up our entire purchase power cost.
To the customer, that's your kilowatt.
Yes.
Okay. What per kilowatt price?
Right.
Okay, thank you.
And the transfer fee is just a percentage of the revenue that we bring in is what we then pay to the city as the right to bring utilities across city-owned property.
I did know that, sorry, I asked about that. I got the two confused, sorry, okay.
So stay on that, look at line 7 and 8, which is MISO purchase power. That is Fern,
Okay,
that 1.57 million.
yes,
And
okay.
then the next week, 389,000.
So that 1.5 million, that was just for the 1 week,
Yes.
right? Because I see 217, okay.
Yep.
Like Paul said, usually we're about 200,000.
Okay, well, that tells a big story within itself. Okay, thank you. I was looking that over and I thought, why I don't remember in previous months of looking, well, of course, the numbers weren't that high, but I didn't also remember seeing that many to MISO, that many payments to MISO, so I wondered, okay, thank you.
And I guess it's important to point out too, that capacity is included in that MISO invoice, but we're basically paying nothing to MISO for capacity this year because we hedged all of it up front.
Okay,
And so we're paying that to.
I didn't think about
another
that, thank
third
you.
party. Yeah.
I don't worry about transmission.
Right.
It is consistent.
Because it's so consistent.
All right. Any other questions on electric before we go on to water? Okay. So water, a little less going on there. We did have an increase in cash for the water fund of $208,000. Net income positive for the month by, it was $180,000, which was much better than expected. We did not have a carbon change out in February for the water fund. We did end up selling about 2.6% more gallons than we did last year. And operating expenses came in less than we had expected. So that's how we had the positive number in net income. Year to date now in water, our net income is $694,000, which is a little bit better than where we expected to be. Revenues are right at where they were expected to be with budget, and operating costs are now 4% less than expected. Water fund debt coverage ratio year to date is 2.22. And the last 12 months is a 2.37. Any questions on the water fund before we hit sewer? Okay, I'll keep going. Sewer fund had a small increase in cash. Net income in sewer was $37,000, very small, but a little bit better than expected. We also had a positive increase in unit sales by about 1.4% compared to last year, and operating costs were up by about 1% than what we had expected. Year to date now, our net income is $246,000, which is a little bit behind budget. Revenues are 1% less than budgeted, and operating costs are slightly more than budget. If I had to point something out in the sewer fund that's causing that, we have our vac trucks, which is our two giant trucks that do our sewer cleaning. One of those units is a 2008 and is becoming more and more expensive to maintain. As you can imagine, that requires a very specialized type of maintenance. And so as we go on, we continue to spend more in repair and maintenance costs on that vehicle. We just passed our 5-year capital plan, so you already know this, but we had budgeted to purchase a new model, which we are moving forward with, that will replace that 2008 unit. So hopefully our maintenance costs in the coming years will go down a little bit. We're over budget there by about $15,000 to $20,000 because of those maintenance costs in the sewer fund. Debt coverage ratio in sewer year to date is a 3.65, and for the last 12 months is a 3.29. And we've got the rest of our information on there. Darren already talked about our S&P rating call that we had a couple weeks ago. That's all been published and finalized. Darren, did you, I apologize, did you also mention the city's rating at all?
No, go ahead.
Okay. And I'm assuming they'll already share this in their next council meeting, but the city also had an analysis done. It wasn't quite as in-depth as what ours was, but I believe their rating is going to stay the same as well. So no downgrade for them, and their outlook is, it's not stable, it's not negative. They don't have an outlook. It's a different agency that does their debt. So not necessarily positive news because it wasn't an upgrade, but at least we didn't have another downgrade on the city side.
So what kind of effect, does that negative outcome or whatever, what does that, how does that affect us on a day-to-day basis or on a loan?
Yeah.
Or bonds or?
I wouldn't say it directly affects us. It kind of puts people on notice because we do have to publish those results. And so when people see that negative outlook, it kind of perks their ears up. Well, let me go back and look at their most recent audit, or maybe their last 2 or 3 audits, and kind of see the trend that's been going on here. I think a lot of people, especially bondholders, trust the rating agencies that they're already doing that. And so they'll probably just read that report, kind of see what's going on. Darren touched on a lot of the items that they included in that report that basically said, yeah, we've had these 3 years in a row of negative financial performance, but we've done several things to hopefully right the ship and get things turned around in the other direction. I imagine that would be enough to satisfy a number of folks, but like we've talked about, there's always the risk that they are not satisfied with that, and that they would require us to hire some type of counsel to ensure that we meet that debt covenant. That's more of a worst case scenario type of thing, because we have instituted the rate increases that we've had. But again, we're kind of walking on eggshells on that negative outlook. All right, I don't think I had anything else to report on unless there's any other questions for the financial report.
Paul, can you say what business is attributing the cost to the pipelinings? Is it sewer?
Sorry, say that again.
We're lining pipes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, sewer.
That is a
It's a sewer?
sewer capital project, yep.
Can I make just one quick comment? If you look at Paul's report that you have here, it's less numbers, there's less, he's just kind of giving it more, and that's because we wanted to follow that simplified from what the city had asked. And so this, what you see here, is that simplified. You've been doing that, what, for 6 months now? Mm-hmm. So we've heard and tried to be more transparent, and again, I don't know, we scratch our head a little bit of trying to simplify and yet still get you the information you need and want. And so if we're trying to meet what's been asked.
Paul, we're sorry that you're so intelligent above our level, but we're glad to have you, that knowledge you have.
Thank you. And yes, I will definitely do my best to make it more digestible, understandable.
And
But
I
really
know that's
appreciate
not easy either, because this comes so natural to you. So for, it's hard to ask somebody to dummy something down that you can just do like this. So I appreciate the effort.
And I appreciate the questions.
Is it time to move on to unfinished business?
I believe so.
Okay, let's do that, please. Paul, you're talking about the preliminary fiscal 26-27 budget presentation.
All right, so fiscal year 2027 budget. I apologize. Typically, I would have a preliminary draft of the budget ready for you to start reviewing at this meeting. However, I did have a death in the family last week, and so I did not get that completed. And so I did want Courtney to go ahead and leave that line item in there so that we can go ahead and have you set a date for a budget workshop like we've done in the past. And we will certainly pass along a copy of that draft when we've got it ready, which hopefully will be well ahead of that budget workshop. Last year, we did do it on Monday, April 7th, I think at 4 o'clock, where we sat in here and went over that budget in great detail. That certainly gives a decent amount of time for questions and for me to respond to those questions if we need to. If we wanted to do it earlier to give even more time for back and forth, we could do that. Probably that last week of March would work if we wanted to do that. But I just wanted to leave it open to discussion and then entertain a motion to set a date for that budget workshop.
I think if we could do it, all agree on a, maybe the end of March. That way, if the city is involved, if there's more questions, that gives you time to answer them to their satisfaction as well.
Right, yeah, and internally, we'd kind of talked that likely there will be more questions this year. I know there were several last year too, and so making sure that there's adequate time.
Yeah.
And again, the plan is to present the final budget to you all in April at our board meeting, but if we still had questions that needed, or loose ends that needed to be tied up, we don't have to have it done until officially May 15th.
Okay.
So we could always schedule a special meeting or a second workshop or whatever that looked like afterwards too.
Are you talking about, Kelly, March 30th?
Yeah,
What time? Did we talk about that?
We had done them normally at the 4 o'clock. I don't know if there's going to be much benefit to having it pushed off later, so any member of the public could come. You have any opinion about that, Eric?
I saw a lot of feedback, I'm sure, as you all did online, about the times of the meetings being inconvenient, so again, I think anything you could do to try to curb that.
I think
Those
that,
remind me, because I've sat through a couple of them, those are, we do those live on YouTube too, right? I think that'd be the biggest thing, because you're having a workshop type thing, I mean, not, at that point, you're not really looking for input from the public, I don't think, but you're just kind of having an internal conversation. So, I mean, as long as you're recording it where people can go back and listen to it, kind of where you got, how you got to where you were at, then they could come to the next meeting and ask questions.
I didn't know they were recorded.
I think the 30th will be great. If,
It works for me.
do we want to move it to 5 o'clock? Would that be,
I think that maybe more for when we do the public hearings.
yeah,
Like
it's,
something like this,
Yeah.
I don't know that it's necessary.
Yeah, I suggest 4 o'clock would work.
Okay.
As long as it works for all of us.
How long do those usually run? Like, obviously I haven't been to one before. 5 hours? Let's start at 4 o'clock in the morning.
it depends on how many questions we have, yeah.
Yeah, we've had 2.5 hours, we've had an hour. Yeah, just kind of depends.
we need a motion for that. James,
Probably.
Yes, please.
I'll make a motion for the 30th at 4 then.
And a second.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Does that give you enough time?
Yes,
Okay,
yep,
great.
so we'll hopefully get you, by next week, a copy of that draft budget for sure.
Awesome.
And then you can start looking at it, give you a week to look at it at least.
Okay.
Okay. Next item on the agenda under unfinished business is scheduling of rate and fees to set a public hearing for the couple changes that are going to be considered for before our April meeting.
Yes, so we might, well, anyway, as you know, the charter requires us to do a public hearing anytime we add, change, or modify an existing rate or fee. And so with the General Mills project, we would be implementing a new rate class, new rate schedule, large industrial standby rate. And so in order to do that, we would need to have a public rate hearing to go over that. That would be the only item that we would have that we would be going over. Implementing a new rate schedule has been part of the discussion all along with General Mills because this will change their operations with us so much. And so we have worked with Utility Financial Solutions, UFS, to develop that rate schedule. It's relatively common when you have this type of situation where they are generating their own electricity to use in their process that we would charge them a standby rate because we have all of that infrastructure, everything available to pick up their entire load on a moment's notice. And so because of that, we have to be able to recover that cost appropriately. And so it does require its own special rate class. So I would propose that we just go ahead and set that rate hearing ahead of our next board meeting in April. The tricky part is that this isn't an electric rating or any type of rate increase, and so do we want to do it at 4 or do we still want to make it at 5 because it is a rate hearing?
I think maybe to get the message out there is if it's a public hearing, we should just go ahead and set it at 5:30.
Probably, yeah, because trying to explain what it's exactly for up front is probably going to confuse people.
Yeah.
This could be our test. You could just put rate hearing and see how many people show up.
April 6th work for, I mean, that would be before our regular meeting. It's a Monday.
No, it's a
We're
part
gonna
of the regular meeting.
Oh, is it a part of the meeting, regular meeting?
Isn't that what you were saying? Yeah, right before the regular board meeting?
April 20th.
Yeah.
Okay, so, all right, I got you.
Yeah, so we would just do that rate hearing, let the public make any comments if they have any on that General Mills
Okay.
rate, and then we'd have you approve the schedule of rates and fees with it included during our regular meeting.
Yeah, if we have interested parties in thinking, if that's going to benefit General Mills more than it benefits them, it'd be worthwhile setting enough time to make sure that it's understandable, and that's going to be quite a challenge, just because it's got so many arms and legs into franchise fee introduction and backup power and
Could you share that with the public prior to, so they can start to do the research?
The actual
Yeah, like
new
how it's
rate.
gonna work, like, just a broad, like, this is what it is, this is the potential, like, cost savings to General Mills versus how much we're gonna lose or make, or just a very, this is what we're doing. Doesn't have to be to the expert level, but just a broad.
Just
hey,
kind of a
this
pros
is-
and cons
Because
sheet.
I already had somebody call last week about the General Mills, and they said, well, I got a friend that works at General Mills, and they're gonna make their own power, so you're gonna lose all that income. I couldn't rebut it because I didn't know enough about it. And so if we could share that earlier, people could start asking questions at a time, that'd be,
Like right about now?
yeah.
Okay. Sounds good.
Throw it on TikTok and see if that works.
Put it on things happening. That's where all the answers are for everything in the world.
Yeah, I think just like a little, like something that just kind of touches on the benefits to the city, the benefits to General Mills, because I think everybody's gonna go, oh, here we go, we're doing something for General Mills, and they're gonna, because they're a big corporation, they're gonna get all these, but we can really say, one, it locks them in. Two, the income's still gonna be there for the city, like,
Yeah, and I think the first thing I'll just say publicly that's really interesting is that, you know what, never mind, I'm not gonna state that. They're willing to pay a much higher dollar per kWh with this new rate schedule than what they're currently paying. And so it just tells you that the benefit that they're receiving from doing this type of project is substantial in other ways other than their utility cost.
right. I think a big benefit is the fact that they're investing if they're investing in that plant, they're investing in being in Hannibal,
Right.
Yeah.
which is a big job creator.
So what time do we set the meeting for?
5?
Okay.
That's good.
all right.
We just need a motion.
Do I have a motion to set a public hearing for the addition or changes to our rates at our next regular scheduled board meeting at 5 p.m.?
I'll make that motion.
And a second. All in favor?
All right, thank you.
Is that it for Paul? Okay, thank you very much. It's a new business, which we kind of cracked open a little bit. You're going to tell us about the General Mills cogeneration project.
What I've provided to you is the press release that General Mills put out about a week ago. And with it, it explains a couple of things. First of all, General Mills says that Unison Energy is going to be building 2.5 megawatt gas-fired generators on site at General Mills. Unison will buy the gas, and then they'll turn around and sell the electricity and the steam. The reason this is such a good savings for General Mills is that they're actually able to use the energy from the steam right into their process, which will save them having to create that heat, etc., for the majority of their process. So it's the combined cycle, the CHP, which makes it very efficient for them because of their business, the way they do it. What we're going to be doing is creating a large industrial combined cycle rate. So if any other industry out there wants to build the same and use the steam that they create, we would be able to do the very same rates for them. One of the things that we were concerned about was that we would be selling less electricity. We still have to be the backup. They use about 7 megawatts of power. They're going to build 5 megawatts to use. We still are going to be providing them power. We're going to be that peaker unit for them. So anything they need above that 5 megawatts, we still have to provide. The cost of that, we're going to recapture the revenues that we would be losing. We're going to be made whole. We also aren't going to have to buy that power. So it's a very fair rate of cost of power. The city is the one that might have been harmed because we take 5.5% of what we make and provide to the city. There is a rate inside of there that's going to help the city capture approximately $13,316 per month on a flat fee that they're going to get, and it will adjust over time so that the city is made whole. We went into negotiations and the discussions of this with the absolute understanding that our citizens would not pay a penny more. They would not be harmed by this in any way, neither the residential, nor the commercial, nor the industrial customers of Hannibal BPW. And so we've had a consultant that's helped us craft this design. It is innovative. Unison, part of the press release from General Mills says, Unison Energy is to finance, build, own, and operate an on-site combined heat and power system at General Mills. The partnership of General Mills, Unison Energy, and the Hannibal Board of Public Works, HBPW, played a critical role in developing an innovative standby tariff structure which supports General Mills' energy needs while continuing to deliver value and reliability to the Hannibal residents. So this will be a benefit for us. There's some benefits in transportation, which will be reduced by a little bit. We're going to be, we'll still have to be the capacity providers for them. They will still pay for that capacity, their full share for that. It's what we call a win-win-win-win. It's a win for General Mills. It's a win for Unison. It's a win for the city, and it's a win for us. So I think we've got a very good project. Again, I'll let you take the press release, read that, look at it. Also, here is a copy of the proposed rates structure that we are going to ask you to approve. We will definitely go into detail on how that works, what it looks like. We'll also provide this sheet, which again, between all of it, it is somewhat complex, but it works out to be safe and to make everybody whole. And I think what Lucas said, the fact that we've done this, working with General Mills, kind of puts another stake in the ground that says General Mills is going to be here in 25 years. So I think it's a big plus economically and for the community. That's all I have.
Awesome. Anybody have questions about that other than lots of them? Anyway, moving on. Comments from the city attorney?
I have no comments.
Okay. Any general discussion before we go into closed session? All right, having heard none.
I'll make a motion to go into closed session persistent with section 601 or 610.2112 of the Missouri Sunshine Law. The board members convene in closed session to discuss actual matters, actual contractual matters. It includes the board members, Darren, Matt, Paul, Courtney, and the attorney, sorry. And James Lemon.
All right, we've got a motion.
If I second, do I have to read that whole thing?
No.
Second.
No, you just do what he said.
Second to what he said, yeah.
Woodward.
Yes.
Painter,
Yes.
Goodson,
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
All right, we're in closed session. Thank you, everybody.
Since, I guess that's my
You didn't have the